Hello, hello. Quick video here. I just wanted to make some announcements. First off, I'll do this up front because of the short attention span theater folks that won't watch this very far. Another live stream is coming up. I've been putting it off for a while, but I can't start the next major sets of like 3D printing videos until I do it. So I was going to do it this weekend, but I blew up my graphics card, which is also consequently why I didn't have a video at the end of last week or the beginning of this week like I intended to. Worst case scenario, I wanted to put something out Saturday, give like a week announcement until like live stream, which I was planning to do next weekend, but this guy right here, Sapphire Pulse, more like Sapphire No Pulse, am I right? Anyway, stopped working, so I have to RMA that. And this is an old Xeon server type machine, and it doesn't have quick sync either, so everything is like super syrupy slow because I had to dig an old graphics card out. So I don't buy new graphics cards very often, so like that replaced my old like NVIDIA Kepler or Maxwell or something like that was having like graphical artifacts, and so I dug up an even older NVIDIA card, and that's what's running right now. It should be good enough to stream. It's not great for video editing, and like I said, I don't have quick sync, so like exporting takes forever because everything has to be software export. But I will put out some shorter videos in the meantime, just stuff that won't take 2 days to export. What I'm planning for those to be are, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, live stream. Next live stream is going to be, let me see, I wrote it right here, August 24th. That's a Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's where I had it last time, and that seems to be a good compromise between some people's schedules where they might have to get up and at them a little early to see it, and some people might have to stay up a little bit late, but it's not impossible for most people to see. And what we're going to be doing on that is building an Ender 3. Now, I realize that it's like I'm a year late to the game on that or something like this, but I don't usually hop on like, you know, trendy or budget printers or things like that. First off, because they've been a disaster for a long time, and made compromises where I didn't approve of them, and second off, because like that's not really the kind of channel I'm trying to sort of propagate here. But I had a whole bunch of like 3D printing and electronics theory type videos that I wanted to put out, and I had actually started filming months ago, and I thought, hey, this is the kind of thing where I can take those videos and say, instead of maximum extrusion rates for blah 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 or like Bowden versus direct drive, I can say maximum extrusion rates for the Ender 3, and then it'll make more sense to people, and they'll have something to compare it to, as opposed to like one of my wacky homebrew printers, which are what I use for 90% of the time. So all those projects that I've either hinted at or gotten started or whatever in the past, they're mostly going to be rolled into that Ender series. So that's why the brakes were put on those. And that includes some of the like unified 32-bit boards and things like that. Again, so if I just said like, here's this 32-bit board, here's how it prints in my wacky mutant linear rail Cartesian DIY design printer that you have absolutely no reference for, it makes more sense for me to say, here's how it is in an Ender. See what I'm saying? Anyway, that left the previous live stream printer, this one of my wacky DIY ones, kind of hanging out in the cold because I was going to tie a lot of those theory documents to that, and this is the reason I haven't done that yet. Now I know you're saying like, wow, that was 3 months ago that you did that, or 2.5 months or whatever. Well, I put in the parts orders for all this Ender stuff over 2 months ago, and they haven't gotten here yet. So that brings me to the next thing that delayed progress. I just haven't gotten this stuff yet. I don't know if it's like the threat of trade wars or tariffs or whatever, or if it's just plain old-fashioned parts shortage or, bad planning in terms of like source logistics and things like that. But I had like a stack of stuff I wanted to have on hand before I launched into the series, so I wouldn't have these big, dumb, several-week gaps like I tend to have between videos. And they just haven't showed up. So I have enough stuff now that I can get started with enough wiggle room that I'll have probably, 3, 4 videos before I would have to get to those. Yeah, I ordered that in June, so like almost 2 months ago. Practically pre-ordered it. Like I ordered as soon as I heard that they were available. They were listed in stock at the time, and it just hasn't materialized. So I'm gonna bang on with some other boards and things, and then get back to that one, which is a shame because that's one I was particularly excited about. But we will get to it eventually. I also got crazy distracted by a couple boards that have come out lately that I don't have in my hands yet, but I've been messing around online, like looking at projects for them and things like that. The Teensy 4 is out. That looks very exciting. The Raspberry Pi 4 is out. That looks very exciting, although I know it has some issues. But all the Raspberry Pis have issues, which was why I'm not a big, like, crazy Raspberry Pi Octoprint guy. But they can be worked around, so I might get my hands on one of those and see how it holds up. And that stuff ties into another series that I want to get started, which is going through like cheap, like workshop lab test gear type things, entry level stuff like $10 oscilloscope cards and things like that. Introduce those, like show links to them, and then after a bit, like start using those in test videos and show other people how to use those to test their various, boards and components and things like that. So in the interim, since my last chunk of videos, I grabbed one of those cheapy oscilloscopes. I grabbed a couple different component multi-tester type deals, several new programmers, a logic probe, one of the like Saley clones. I don't know what it is. A 16-channel logic probe that was like $8, and like an 8-channel logic probe that was like $7, something like that. They were both really cheap. I've just been waiting on parts before I dig into all that stuff, and I can't wait anymore. You guys are going to chew my head off, and I'm going to go nuts. Let me talk about what I did work on, and then what I will be working on in the immediate future, and you can expect to be coming up before and around the live stream. So, as you know, if you've been tracking my issues that I've been having, doctor's visits and medical bills and all that stuff, I was grounded here for a little while and did some fun projects for myself and filmed the whole thing. They're mostly like music and music gear related because that's what's fun for me. That kind of helped me keep my sanity at the time. I was in and am in the process of editing those again. My card went down, so I'm kind of stuck right now. But there's some fun stuff in there, and those will be coming out too. But as far as like electronics and 3D printers, before the live stream and the Ender series with all the new little 32-bit boards and drivers and all that kind of stuff, I do want to put some of that type of stuff out ahead of time. First one I want to do, maybe first, I don't know, is touch on one of the new budget 32-bit STM32 based boards, because I need to introduce some concepts before we start working on a cheapy, budget entry-level printer, because people probably don't have a lot of experience and they'll have a lot of questions. So I think I'm going to take one of the like SKR mini boards with remove the socketed drivers and go through like the whole Marlin setup and all that stuff. Explain all the gizmos and doodads on the boards and how it works. That way I can introduce those concepts before we get into that series and use that as a reference, so I don't have to do a lot of stop and rewind or go through the videos and say, oh, well, if you want to know how to, yada yada, or this is how you upload firmware, like I don't have to touch on any of that. It'll already be done. That will also introduce some of the new Trinamic drivers. I have now a full set for 2209s. And the other ones, the 5160s or 5161s, whichever, I don't remember which ones they are that I got. But I want to do that ahead of time, so that way I can head off those questions at the pass. And then when it comes time to do those in the context of the video, I can just say, hey, I already covered these, but these are the settings for you, that type of thing. So both of those will be coming out before the live stream. Fingers crossed. I'll probably do at least one of those pieces of test gear in the meantime as well. Probably the logic probe, because I have to start working with that. I spent all of yesterday setting up this, which is just an ancient laptop. I mean, ancient by today's standards. which I'm going to be using as the test bed for those USB test things. And one of the reasons I want to get the logic probe stuff going on is when I do the more in-depth reviews of like the Trinamics drivers and things like that, and then eventually get to A/Bing that against like the not smart drivers, I want to be able to take that logic probe, hook it up to the drivers, and then get the visual representations of the signals that are coming in and out, because I've had to grab some of those logic probes, hook them up to these drivers in the past, like in, you know, months and years gone by when stuff was going goofy with like Marlin or something or whatever else, and make sure like the signals are cool. But these tools are like I said, like $8, $10, $12, something like that, plus an old laptop. So yeah, and the last one I kind of want to do before we get deep into the Ender series is a couple different shorty videos on like intro to electronics for people who are just getting into like robotics and 3D printing and analog digital electronics, things like that. Because I would like to be able to throw certain terms around or reference things on a schematic and not have to think, well, 80% of the audience has no idea what I'm talking about, so this is just a whole 5 minutes they're going to skip over, or it's just going to like fly over their heads, or it's not going to be particularly helpful for them. So I know you can go in a ton of different places online if you have the desire and learn how to read schematics and basic electronics theory and things like that, but I thought it would be useful just for the people who need it to at least put that in a form that's going to be useful for what we're doing in the immediate future, and that way it'll be a reference for those, and I don't have to worry about leaving people behind so much. But I did gut my entire workshop, pretty much all the workbenches, took down all of my stuff that I was working on, which was like woodworking and gluing and spraying and, you know, high voltage crap and vacuum tubes and all that nonsense, and set it back up for the live stream and working on like, you know, microcontrollers again. So, you know, like, grab this camera off of here. So yeah, you can see I set that whole thing up complete with pizza box. So unopened Ender 3, got my little platform for my Octoprint machine, set up all the sound foam, got a couple like webcam things set up for the video, got that to respond to chat with, got a hockey mask for my weekend job, and then I'm in the process of getting all of this stuff better organized and labeled into bins. So yeah, there you go. That's what I've been doing, and that's what you can expect in the immediate future, and then you also have the long-term plan so you know what's going on. I felt I at least owed that to everybody. As a final word of business, not really business, this month is my birthday, and a couple people asked if they could send me something, and the most useful thing is probably just consumables that I use around the shop, and things that I want to, you know, test out and maybe use in future videos, or if they suck, maybe not, but like don't want to spend the money on them in the immediate future. So I made a Amazon wish list, and I'll post that in the comments below. It's just stuff like, you know, VHB tape and zip ties and crazy glue and DuPont jumpers and, you know, stuff that I'll go through all the time. So yeah, if you want to say happy birthday, Alex, and buy me $5 worth of crazy glue, they already have my address. All you have to do is stick in your cart and they'll send it to me instead of sending it to you. So thanks a lot for checking it out. Remember, live stream Saturday, August 24th, 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be building an Ender 3 and talking about it and things like that, answering chat questions and whatnot. But regardless, August 24th, see you there.